The content of this channel is for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification button. And please, feel free to share the video. Thank you. What's good, everybody? A little technical difficulty there right there. But what's happening, man? I hope all of y'all are enjoying your Christmas holiday, enjoying your break, and that you've had a very joyous time as you get ready to go back to work tomorrow and to handle business. So I'm just giving you a shout out, wishing you well. And before I get things started, like I always do, I want to give a shout out to the members of the Green Gorilla channel. So let me just get that out of the way and take care of that right now. I'd like to give a shout out to Kashif Caldwell, Infamous Chillin', I Am Black Man, John Reads Too Much, Hayetrix, Leroy Honeycutt, True King 337, B Hillfire, Forrest Windu, Michael Cavanius, Urban Nomad, Raphael Brown, Bernolas, Kyle J. Sura, I'm Just Jules, The Book of Ronin, Ab Media 83, Damon Harris, Brian McMurray, Mr. Lou Meth, TD Hip Hop Media, Drew Mang, Shop Talk Live, Ryan Jackson, The Face, Mr. Heat, David Demand, Afro Analyst, NEU, Ronan Martin, Black Wizard 80OS, Camp Low, Isa Abdul Sahir, Sir Anthony, Deshaun Nolly, MLR, Charles Rogers, Black Dog, Brother Love, Universal 178, Black Swerve 404, Rashid Barnes, Aaron Smith, DH, C Truth the Revelator, Gold Professor, The Nameless Protagonist, Black Pill Ned Stark, Arthur Unknown, Odd Collard, Dr. Tiasan Johnson, Brian Williams, Kalon Jakala, Sherrod Martin, Ricky Dawson, Cedric Bowman, True 7360, BK Born Shahid, James Washington, Hostile Adept, Seven Coast Dojo, W Pierre 1, Rogish the Billmonger, I Care, Lady Miss Thing Green, BGS Ibmore, and Marvin Battle Jr. Thank you all for being members of the Green Gorilla channel. I'd like to give you all some applause. Thank you for helping me to make the channel what it is. I appreciate all of your donations and all of your help, support, and your contributions. So that's out of the way. Thank y'all. I appreciate it. Love y'all. Also, what I want to do is kind of follow up with some answers to some questions that have been asked of me about some of the recent streams that I've done lately. And so I'm gonna do that, and then after having done that, I'll invite anybody who has any further questions to ask me more. But before I do that, I'm going to fade out and let you know that if you want to become a member of the Green Gorilla channel, how to do so. So I'll be right back. What's good, everybody? I'm the G with a PhD, and you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel, the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, no chaser. Today, I want to introduce you to my new membership program that consists of 5 levels where you can invest in the Green Gorilla channel on a monthly basis and receive level-specific perks. Memberships are special because they improve the quality of the content of the channel and will help me to be able to keep the channel going. Now, to participate in the Green Gorilla channel membership program, all you have to do is hit the join button, which is located right next to the subscribe button on my channel page. Now, for all of my subscribers who decide not to participate in my membership program, nothing will change. The content will keep coming the way it always has. Thanks for watching, and be careful out here, people. Bless. All right, so I'm back. I don't have any fancy backgrounds or anything. I'm just giving you something straight up and down. It's a Sunday. This ain't gonna take too long, but it's gonna take a little bit of time. So ultimately, what I've been trying to do is to give you some insight into how my brain works and the thoughts, the ruminations, the ideas that undergird my politics. And ultimately, what I've been trying to tell you is that I am a naturalist. I'm not an idealist. I'm not a rationalist. I'm not a reductionist. I am a naturalist. And some people think that naturalism means that everything can be reduced to materiality. And to some degree, I think that's true, but I also allow for mind by way of emergent properties, because things emerge from physicality. Emotions are not physical, but they emanate from chemical reactions, but I wouldn't reduce them to chemical actions. The mind is dependent upon material reality, but I think that it's an epiphenomenon. It's a quality or a feature of human being that emerges out of the way that our materiality is constructed. But I mean, I don't want to get too complex here, man. All I'm trying to do is say, look, I'm a naturalist. And as a naturalist, I think that if you're going to start issuing proclamations about people's morality, if you're going to study morality and ethics, or you're going to study politics, you need to have the right metaphysics of the person. That's all I'm saying. And I'm saying, and I'm echoing Dewey, John Dewey, the creator of the Dewey Decimal System. He was also a philosopher who did metaphysics, ethics, politics, a whole bunch of stuff, okay? Epistemology. So ultimately, he says, a morals based on study of human nature instead of disregard for it would find the facts of man continuous with those of the rest of nature, and would thereby ally ethics with physics and biology. It would find the nature and activities of one person coterminous, meaning connected, congruent with, correlated with those of other human beings, and therefore it would link ethics to the study of history, sociology, law, economics, so on and so forth. All right? So that's the first thing I'm trying to argue. That if you're going to study morals, you need to study human nature. And you have to understand nature in general and how man is not disconnected from nature. We exist within it. Okay? So that's the first thing I'm trying to articulate. And then also, in opposition to rationalism and reductionism, I try to make the case that when you start studying physical reality or materiality itself, if you want to analyze what it actually is, and you want to make proclamations about what it is, well, you're going to have to understand that things don't exist by themselves. But overall, what I tried to articulate was three things in relation to metaphysics, or the study of reality itself. This is at the subatomic level, the atomic level, at the human level, the biological level, okay? Namely, that there are no bounded objects. Things exist within the confines of a paradigm of processes, processual existent events. That's the first thing, processual existent events. The second thing I said was that we got to also replace the idea of self-contained substances or bounded objects with the theory of event concrescences. So not only do you have processual existent events, events come together and they concrete. They come together, right? And then third, I argue against formal and final causality. Now, a lot of people don't even know what formal and final causality is. I would, if you want me to, at some point, give you an explanation of what it is in more depth and detail, I will. But I'm talking about Aristotle and his idea of causality, and Plato and his idea of formal and final causality. And these things persist. They still remain with us in one way or the other. But we don't know how they do because we don't study history very well. And we don't study the history of thought or philosophy very much. So that's what I'm arguing for. So in rejection of formal and final causality, I say that there is emergence and that there's immanent self-creation within nature. Nature doesn't have bounds like we think it does. There is no terminus pre-planned or predestined terminus. Things are novel, creation creates new incarnations of itself. That's what it does. Okay? So the first thing I wanted to say was that as it pertains to the first thing that I discussed, the first point, that bounded things are really abstractions. Things are continuous and interdependent parts of more comprehensive events that take place throughout overlapping interactive processual fields. And I said that what modernity does is it abridges, it slices, it analyzes, it separates, it compartmentalizes, and reduces things to discrete objects. But that's not reality, especially what we know about the biological world at the current moment. So we have to revamp our metaphysics in relation to what we know now about biology, environmental biology, developmental biology, evolutionary biology. We have to adapt our metaphysics to what we know now about the natural world. But it seems like we're stuck in the past. And I think that's a mistake. And I also said that events themselves, again, are not isolated, but they display an organic tendency to converge with other events. So you don't have bounded objects and you don't have bounded events. Things are interrelated and they commingle and interact. There's interconnection and interrelatedness in nature, right? So the main thrust of the second element of what I've been discussing is that it's impossible for things to merely be things with their own slice of existence. This whole concept of independence. I'm an independent individual. I'm autonomous. Okay, I get it. But in reality, you're everything but that. You're interdependent upon other people. You exist within an ecosystem. We already saw, like, the COVID, pandemic kicked in and it disrupted the way that we interact with one another. What we took for granted. We took it for granted that the world would be the way that it was, but things happened. And we found out what it's like to live unrelated, disconnected to other people. And some people killed themselves over this. Some people couldn't handle it emotionally, psychically. And some people still can't handle it. Okay? But all I'm saying is things are interrelated in ways that you wouldn't imagine until a crisis arrives. And then you begin to see how interconnected you actually are. And also I say that modernity has us perceive objects as windowless, and that we're repelling and clashing, or that the things in nature are repelling and clashing and impeding one another's progress. But that's inaccurate. It's just not true of nature. Now, I'm not saying that there's not strife and enmity in nature. There is. But there's a lot more cooperation than people seem to acknowledge. And the last thing I said related to emergence or self-creation out of particularity is that things in nature are not bound by form. Creatures are not bound by their DNA, but they go through mutations. And then they adapt to their environments because the environments are constantly changing. So you get novelty all the time in nature. Things are consistently evolving. Nature is an affair of affairs, an affair of beginnings. New things arise out of nature all the time, things we haven't seen before. In fact, the virus is an instance of this. Viruses mutate. They don't stay the same. They morph and change into different things. They adapt to the environment. They do so quicker than we do because they're less complex as organisms than we are. But they adapt and change just like the other things in nature adapt and change. So ultimately, this is what I'm saying. But this framework of metaphysics has an impact on my politics, is all I'm saying. That's all I'm trying to articulate. Okay? So, well, then how? What does any of what I said in the past few streams, what does any of this shit have anything to do with black politics? Okay? Well, let me break it down for you. The first and most important thing I argue is that a naturalistic outlook allows black people to understand African American problems as processual, structural, and institutional problems rather than as problems encountered by individual agents. Such a perspective will enable, if people accept it for what it will enable black people to imagine different ideals and to develop different strategies to solve contemporary black problems. So that's the first thing. The second thing is a naturalistic perspective or an outlook will allow black social critics, black leaders, whoever, black people, to be critical of civil rights strategies, or civil rights tropism is what I call it, and to question the usefulness of using civil rights tropes and strategies as a means of securing African American freedom, flourishing, and democratic functioning. Now, if you ask me, I think the civil rights tradition is nothing more than a variant of liberalism, and I'm talking about philosophical liberalism from modernity, right? Which basically justifies the exercise of political or governmental power to the extent that it basically solves conflict and secures individual liberties and interests. That's what the liberal ideal is related to modernity. So what the black civil rights tradition calls for is the freedom and advancement of a group of people. But it is clumsy because it attempts to use a rights framework that can't achieve the task. Rights frameworks are not applicable to groups of people. It's applicable to individual people. That's why we keep running up against static when we try to make headway with that kind of strategy. So the result is you get black leaders, they're carving out inept and awkward strategies to handle what essentially are collective action problems. Collective action problems. I'm going to repeat it again. Collective action problems. So this is what happens. And I've said this before on my show. I've said, look, in many instances, what you get is civil rights leaders, and they rely on the legislative or the judicial system to protect the rights of individual persons. Right? Now, in the court system, what you have to do, you have to give evidence of an intentional act of overt discrimination in order to trigger a civil rights violation or to demonstrate that one has actually occurred. You have to prove that someone actually hates you. How is that going to ever happen within the context of the law? It's damn near impossible to do because you have to then go into the springs of their desires. How the fuck do you go into the springs of someone else's desires and to know whether or not they hate you other than by them openly and avowedly telling you, I hate you, nigger? You're not going to get that, man. That's why these people hate to be called racist, because they know that it can trigger a punishment or a fine, a fee. So they're going to just shuck it off and not let on that they may even harbor these sentiments. So anyway, this just places an insurmountable burden on the shoulders of the individual claiming to have suffered a discrimination or a hate crime. And even if he does solve the problem, it's only to him as an individual. It's not dealing with a problem that is collective in nature. So what I say is you need a mode of inquiry, a critical one, that's going to generate strategies that not only mitigate direct discrimination, but disparate impact, disparate treatment. You get it? So It ain't just about direct discrimination. It's about indirect discrimination or disparate impact. And I say naturalism is well suited to this task because it can actually be used or employed as a tool to acutely, adroitly explain and regulate collective behavior. Now, back to what I was saying earlier about modernity and how it looks at the individual. Okay? I say naturalism correctly just basically demonstrates that human beings exist in association. That's how we exist. There never has been a time in human history where there was a pre-social state. How does that even occur? Where they are possessed with a full set of inalienable rights. There's never been a time when that's been the case. But the men from modernity argue that there was something called a state of nature. The shit never existed. It never existed. It's a counterfactual claim in order to make a particular kind of argument against ecclesiastical authority or the rule of the church and the divine right of kings. That's all it is. But some people practice the truth of it as if it was some sort of religion. I don't believe it. It's malarkey to me. And one of the ways you know it's malarkey is the way that they treated people of African descent at the very self-same time that they argued that all men are endowed with a set of inalienable rights. If they really believed that shit, then why at the same time were they transporting millions of black people across the transatlantic ocean? Why? So anyway, man, what I say is if you start from the fact of human association as opposed to this counterfactual disassociation, you can immediately begin to examine the consequences of collective actions, intentional or unintentional. And you can develop strategies to mitigate them and to mitigate actions that limit self-development and self-determination of disadvantaged people in the culture in which we live. So I say rights rhetoric, and that's all it is. It reduces to idealistic and romantic notions of individual agency and personal responsibility. And it abstracts away from the ways that processes of action and structures of unintentional habitual behavior can create harmful effects for a whole bunch of people. So where you got the civil rights rhetoric, it builds upon the atomistic ontology, social ontology, assuming that the purpose of civil rights is to guarantee individuals a fair shot to succeed in a system where you have free market opportunity every damn where. But naturalism assumes that people are associated from the start, and that social and political justice consists in dampening the negative effects of a wide range of collective actions. So under naturalism, opportunity is perceived more as a chance to utilize critical intelligence in order to deal with crises through democratic institutions that we create and recreate according to our changing needs. You don't stay stuck in the groove like a record skipping over a scratch, and you keep repeating the same process over and over again to no avail. And the third thing I want to say, and this is the last thing, and many of you might disagree with it. You might disagree, but it is what it is. I say, naturalistic perspectives allow black people, black philosophers, social critics, whoever they may be, to countermand, to argue against free market fundamentalism proposed by conservative and libertarian thinkers, and the kind of rationality they use to justify classical economic and liberal political theory. Naturalism basically puts forth the notion that human beings are emotional reciprocators who act from crudely intelligized emotion and habit. They're not rational calculators. Now, if this is the way human beings act, and there's a lot of evidence that human beings act this way. I mean, all you got to do is just peruse the psychological literature and you'll find human beings act out of crudely intelligized emotion. That's just what they do. Everywhere throughout the world. So if this is the way human beings act, it's absurd to cling to counterfactual theories like the state of nature or whatever the case may be, right? It might be logically expedient, consistent, it might be valid, but it has no empirical grounding. These theories are undergirded by rationalist epistemological methods that decontextualize and systematize for the sake of gaining clarity and certainty of the mathematical kind. But you can't get mathematical certainty as it pertains to human affairs. That shit ain't gonna work. Rational choice theory does not work for human beings. Maybe during war, but even then it still fails. Because sometimes you have to take risks. Things that aren't rational have to be done. A man jumping over a fucking exploding grenade is not doing something rational. That's irrational, but they do it. Falling in love, irrational, has nothing to fuck to do with rationality, but people do it. Buying a pair of Air Jordans, fucking rational, but they do it. People do it all the time. T Fitness for you. Thank you for the super chat, man. Thank you for making Mike dance. Appreciate that, bro. So I'm going to give a quote. Again, I'm referring to John Dewey. As you know now, I like John Dewey. I think he's the shit. I think more people need to read him. So he basically says, look, the idea that there is something inherently natural, and that's in quotes, and amenable to, and he quotes again, natural law in the working of economic forces. Because people talk about the economic system as if it's something that occurs in nature. That shit is an artifice. It's artificial. It is part of the matrix. It's a human fabrication and creation. The economy is. But people act like there are natural laws. I mean, there's a whole science dedicated to this shit. Supply, demand. Supply side economics. All this shit. I mean, you get all these people acting as if there are like natural laws that are associated with economic activity. It's a bunch of bullshit. But anyway, he says, the idea that there is something inherently natural and amenable to natural law in the working of economic forces, in contrast with the man-made artificiality of political institutions, the idea of the natural individual in his isolation possessed of full-fledged wants, of energies to be expended according to his own volition, and of ready-made faculty of foresight and prudent calculation, is as much a fiction in psychology as the doctrine of the individual in possession of antecedent political rights is one in politics. Now, what is he getting at here? He's basically saying people make it appear to be the case that there's something natural going on with economics, but there's something artificial going on with politics. They're both artificial. In fact, the people who are making these kind of arguments about economics are usually people who have more money. They have more material shit. And so they make these arguments to justify their continuing possession of their material objects and their money. They're greedy. One thing I know about human beings, and this is, I think David Hume, he's a naturalist. I think he's right about this shit. What people tend to do when they reason about anything, they tend to have a feeling or a sentiment or an emotion, and they use reason to justify their emotions. That's what human beings do. That's what they do, man. Because you see people making arguments for a whole bunch of shit that's absolutely absurd. But they do it because they want to justify their emotions, their feelings, and their positions. And so they use reason to do so. People don't develop reasons and then have their emotions fit in with them. No, people have emotions and then they try to justify them with their reasons. It's like arguing with your damn wife or your girlfriend. Bottom line. And another thing I thought about that a lot of people don't consider, and they need to consider, is that people, even when they do think, they think in canalized thought. Like they think habitually. People usually don't interpolate new ideas into their thought processes. They should, because you got to be open in order to do that. But a lot of people don't do it at all. They're closed-minded as fuck. They don't want to have new information come into their awareness. They think, but they think according to habit. That's a problem. But it's a real problem. It's a reality. So that's another reason why I think rationality is not going to save us in and of itself. We need a method. And we need to be open with that method. Reason with closed-mindedness is sure to lead you to hell. So, having said that, so look, man, our economic and political theory should not be grounded upon irrefutable and narrow-minded views of human nature that basically say that we're selfish and calculating. Our theory should be undergirded by facts, empirical facts. One being that human beings are members of communities who, again, are emotional reciprocators who act out of habit. If you're going to have practical economic, moral, or political theories, you're going to have to incorporate these facts into them. You can't be someone who's a politician, an economist, or a theorist about such matters and purge your theories of these facts for the sake of convenience, for the sake of efficiency, for the sake of certainty. You can't do that. Well, you can do it, it's being done, but it shouldn't be done. Any more than somebody who's a physicist can go back to the geocentric model of the solar system for the sake of explaining why the sun goes up and down. It's backwards. So we need to have a marrying of what's going on philosophically in the mind with what's going on in the natural sciences. That's why I call myself a naturalist. And if our theories are going to be practical and have any import and teach us anything, then they have to do this. They have to be wedded with natural science. Now, all I want to do, again, and this is kind of like echoing what I said before, man. Naturalistic perspectives enable us to become creative and disclosive so that we're not stuck in a labyrinth of ineffectual and canalized thought. Now, this is something I want to say in response to a video I saw about BGS, right? And it's about disclosure, because he started to talk about Heidegger and about thrownness, and I think he's right about that. I think he read up on Heidegger and he got it right when he talks about how, every human being, when they're born, they're thrown into a culture. You're thoroughly immersed by that culture. There's no way you can get out of that. And before you can even begin to have an impact on your culture, it has had an indelible impact on you. You can't remove it. You can't erase it. You can be critical of it. You can be in opposition to it, but it's going to affect you and impact you. Where you're born, the language you speak, the clothes you wear, the thoughts you have about your friends, your women, whatever the case may be, they're going to be superimposed upon you without any control on your part. So that's disclosure, or thrownness. It's usually in philosophical circles talked about as disclosure of the first kind. So there's disclosure one, thrownness. But then also there's disclosure two. And this is what human beings do better than anybody else or any kind of animals on the planet. Human beings can create new worlds, new modes of activity within the world. Beavers build dams, but they can't build better dams. Yeah, animals display excellence in their activities, but not quite like human beings. Human beings have the ability to do things that animals cannot. But the problem is we're focusing all of our abilities and capacities on the technological mode of being, which is all predicated upon productivity, efficiency, and systematic thinking. It's cool. I'm not saying get rid of it, but damn, I mean, when you go to the gym, you don't just want to go to the motherfucking gym and do chest every time that you go there, man. You got to give your body time to breathe, to heal. So one day you go in, you do chest. Next day you go in, you do back. Next day, you go in and you do legs. And the next day you go in, you do your shoulders, and then you do your arms. And then you repeat the process over and over again. What you don't do is you go to the gym, you don't do shit but chest every time you go there. You'll never grow like that. Or imagine somebody that goes to the gym and they only do curls with their right arm. They don't do shit with their left arm, they just do curls with their right arm. That's not going to create balance, symmetry, and harmony with your body. It's the same thing with the faculties of human being. Can't just do one goddamn thing. Focus and highlight one feature or aspect of your nature. That's what we're doing. And that's the case that I'm making. So, ultimately, people are not open. In this culture, we're not open to novelty. We're not open, and that brings about disclosure number 2. And not everybody is going to be accepting of novelty because most people are going to follow the herd. They're members of the herd. And this is what Nietzsche talks about, right? And he's like one of the precursors to existentialism. Another philosopher by the name of Kierkegaard is as well. But the idea here is human beings, they get caught into the groove of habit and they can't snap out of it. But you need people every now and then. And this is where the black pill shit comes in. This is where your fucking neos come in. This is where, your 5%ers come in. This is where your philosophers come in. This is where you get people who come in and they say, look, you're doing it all fucked up and wrong. And they're open. They see something that's a flaw in the culture. And they talk about it. They discuss it. Thank you, Rashid Barnes. I appreciate your help, man, and your contribution this afternoon. And I swear I'm not going to be long in this, okay? But disclosure number 2 is something that generally happens. But then what happens when somebody introduces a new way of being into the world? People follow them. People follow Jimi Hendrix. Start playing the guitar like him. Allen Iverson. People saw him crossing people over on the court, wearing, cornrows. Everybody starts wearing tattoos and cornrows. So, but we need a push now in our culture, and for some reason or the other, we're stuck in canalized thought. And this, I want to cap this off, though, with something that BGS said about economics, and I think he's right on this. Right now, we live in a country that's materially rich. We just do. There's enough shit to go around for everybody in this country, that everybody can be comfortable. Actually, there's enough in the fucking world, if we actually work towards it, to make sure everybody's cool and they're comfortable. In fact, people in the global south are doing a lot worse than the people in America. But materiality doesn't have everything to do with health, though. Because sometimes you can have a lot of shit, a lot of material things, but still be sick. You can still be sick. And I've always said, it's not how many things you have, it's about the relationships you have. That's the thing that's important. Because at the end of the day, and look, a lot of people, they talk negatively about all these so-called clandestine and boule organizations, but take Masonry, for example. And I'm not going to get into divulge all the secrets of it. That's not the point. But the one thing that it emphasizes is that when you come into this motherfucker, you are divested of all metallic substances. And at the time, in ancient times up through modernity, the way to measure a man's worth was how much gold he has, how much silver he has, how much bronze he has. how much copper he has. That's how you measure the worth of a man. Now today it's Bitcoin and fucking dollars and so on and so forth. But the way you come into this motherfucker is the way you got to go out. You ain't leaving with none of this, man. None of this you're going to be able to take with you. And you want to acquire something. I think black folks are in a position where they've been so destitute and have been not able to share in to the material wealth in this country to such an extent that we can make the case there's something unjust about this. There's no reason in the world. And look, I don't believe in perfect equality. I don't. I do not. There's no way to get to it. You'll never achieve it. There's always going to be somebody better looking, somebody smarter, somebody stronger, somebody more talented. There's always going to be somebody that can beat you. You're never going to get equality. I don't think people should aim for equality. They should aim to become the best that they can, given the circumstances that they live in and the talent indexes that they've been allotted by luck or lot. That's just the way the game goes. But god damn, is it necessary for 1% of a population to control or to have over 50 to 60% of the wealth? That shit is absurd. It doesn't make any sense. And even modern philosophers, even a person like Adam Smith would understand that. Because people always talk about the wealth of nations, but they never talk about his sentiment of morals, or his work or his treatises on ethics. They never talk about that shit. All they talk about is this economic theory and Pareto optimality and all this other bullshit. You can't take the shit with you. And here's the other thing that I wanted to mention. It kind of slipped my mind, but it came back into my awareness. You can have so much shit to the point where you acquiring any more of that shit has no added value to your life. It's called the law of diminishing returns. It's just the law of diminishing returns. It is what it is. You can have 1,000 pair of pants in your wardrobe. You're fucking, one of them rappers who like to collect a lot of shit. Like you might have 100,000 pairs of shoes. Some of these basketball players and rappers and shit have 1,000 shoes. But here's the deal. You can only put on one pair of them fucking shoes at a time, unless you're wearing mismatched shoes. And in that case, you can only wear 2 pairs of shoes at the same time. When you put on a pair of pants, unless you got on more than 1 pair at the same time, you can only put on 1 pair of pants at the same goddamn time. There's only so many rings you could have. There's only so much money you can acquire to where it doesn't matter how much more money you get. And I don't have a problem with inequality. You're always going to have it. But damn it, do you have to have so much inequality? What's the point of it? I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't see why there has to be this much inequality. Now, you did have a movement. I already talked about that, T-Fitness, the law of diminishing returns. And again, I don't want to say that people shouldn't work towards goals and put their agency into what they consider to be, productive. I might have repeated that, but I don't see anything wrong with individuals aspiring to be wealthy. But damn, man, I could see somebody having 100,000 times more than somebody else, or even 1,000,000 times. But billions upon billions of billions of billions more, man. While motherfuckers starving and homeless on the streets like BGS was talking about. That's some bullshit, man. That's bullshit. It don't matter if they white, black, red, yellow, whatever the case may be. Nobody deserves to live like that when there's a place for a motherfucker to stay. You got empty hotel rooms. You got empty beds in fucking apartment complexes and shit. People take food from grocery stores and they just throw the shit in the trash instead of giving it to people who could actually use it to keep and sustain their lives. But instead of doing that shit, we're worried about profit and the technological mode of being. We're sick. This culture is sick. And we're sick by default because we live in it. We're thrown into it. And we're the ones who need to be making the case. There needs to be a change in the way this culture talks about flourishing, functioning, and thriving. And another thing, when you start talking about these arguments between black men and women, you got to realize how trite and hackneyed this shit is. I had a friend today send me some information. And I'm going to make a video, and I'll probably release the video in maybe about an hour or two, all depending upon how long it takes for me to edit the video. And I won't have a lot of talking going on. I'll probably put some music in it, just be an infographic with charts and stats and shit. But in 1989, as it pertains to corporate equities and mutual fund shares by race, in 1989, white people had 96% of corporate equities and mutual fund shares. Black people had 0.9%. Hispanics, who you would say are on the rise, they had even less. Less. And the other has 2.3%. Now, up that to, so I'm talking about 89. In 2000, so a 10-year leap. In 2000, white people had 95.7 shares of all corporate and mutual fund shares. 95.7, black people had 1%. Hispanics 0.9%, and other 2.4%. In 2010, things are getting better, but they're not near where they need to be. So white folks in 2010 had 91.2%, blacks had 1.1%, and Hispanics had 1%. And the other, whoever those people may be, we don't even know who they are. They had 6.6%. So all of the gains are not going to black folks or Hispanic folks. They're going to the other. And I'm assuming that the other is Asian. That's what I'm assuming. Okay? 2020, man. Where we are now. Black folks are still at 1%. White folks are at 89.5%. Hispanics are at 0.4%. Half of 1%. And the other is at 9.0%. In other words, we are not budging, man. We're not budging. And so, this is not about communism, but it is about distributive justice. And most wealth, believe it or not, is not something that people earn. It's not. Some of it is. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying it does not happen. It does. People sometimes are unique and they're able to do extraordinary things and they're able to capitalize in such a way that they become wealthy within a lifetime. Most people don't, okay? But those cases are rare. Those cases are rare. But most wealth is passed down from generation to generation. That's how wealth is passed down. I wrote a paper a long time ago, and I tried to demonstrate. And I think it's true now as it was then when I first wrote it as a younger man. People think we can John Henry our way out of this shit. You're not going to John Henry your way out of this shit. You're just not going to be able to do it. Hard work is neither a necessary nor a sufficient condition to be successful. It doesn't hurt. Hard work don't hurt, but it's not necessary for success. If that was the case, then generational wealth wouldn't be the means by which people actually maintain a high standard of living according to Western standards. Period. Hard work is neither a necessary nor a sufficient condition for success. I can try my ass off to play basketball like Michael Jordan. I can do all I can. I can practice all fucking night and day trying to be the next Jimi Hendrix. Some people are lucky and they have talent indexes that other people don't have that enable them to do things that other people cannot do. And you might have a good idea, but you might not have the right kind of social capital or networks in order to make your ideas pop off. So we need to stop spoiling each other. I mean, throwing salt on each other is what I really mean by that. About people who are not doing well within the system. Because it's the shitstem for real. It is the shitstem. So, having said that, man, if y'all got any questions, you could ask them. I'm about to take a break real quick. If you can, please support the show. I know it's Christmas time. A lot of y'all just burnt your cash, so I ain't going to be on your heads too hard. And, you know, I kind of feel guilty by asking people for money anyway. But, you know, I got to shamelessly plug the channel because if I don't, it will not persist. So, let me take a break real fast. And when I come back, man, I'll field any questions that you might have. If you got any comments, you got something to say, I'll let you go ahead and spit that out. So, I'm going to take a break real fast. I'm going to put this little StreamYard invite into the chat. And I'm going to take a break real fast. Be right back. All right, man, I'm back. I'm GG. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. It's the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up and no chases, okay? So, I said what I said, and I just wanted to get a clarification because a lot of times, you know, I say things and then people don't get it. But I just wanted to kind of let you know where I'm coming from so you can understand my politics. And I appreciate y'all, man. Thank you for all your support. Thank you, Drew Main, for your support. Thank you for Addo A. Thank you, Addo A, for your support. And I do have a guest who's just come into the stream, a regular. His name is Chaos Rain. My brother,
Good
Chaos
evening.
Rain. How you doing, man? How you doing this afternoon?
Good evening. Good evening. One short question. Since the growth, only 1% in over 31 years, since that was brought to our information since 1989 about equity.
Yeah, well, so look, there have been ups and downs. Of course, as you know, when it comes to the stock market and when it comes to corporate equities and mutual fund shares and things of this nature, things go up and down, okay? Depending upon social conditions at the time, depending upon, whether or not people have good jobs and they actually have discretionary income that they could spend on investments and savings. But I mean, for the most part, we're talking about an increase in 0.2%. We're not talking about a 1% increase. So we're not going from 0 to 1. We're going from 0.8 to 1. Now, in 92, you started to see two points, 0.2% gain. Okay? So you start to see 20% of 1% gains. Okay? But that goes up and down. The highest point was 1997, 1998. And then everything began to decline after that. And I mean, of course, it goes up and down. Like in '04, you saw an increase, but then you saw a decrease in the subsequent years. And so we've never gotten to the point where we were in since what 1996,
I thought
I think.
it was 1989.
89 was 0.8%.
Okay.
Or 0.9%, because you got different quarters, okay?
Of course. Okay.
So you got first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. Of course, this is how people discuss distribution of financial accounts. You know what I'm saying? So so we're talking about the distribution of household wealth in the U.S., man, and it ain't looking good for black folks. It's never looked good for black folks, right? And this is why reparations conversation is key. But
Yeah.
you know what my thoughts are about reparations. I just don't think you're going to see it. And there's a paper written by a group of economists from Harvard that kind of explains why you don't see the kind of wealth distribution in the United States, and you don't see social safety net programs in place the same way that you do in European countries. It's just because of racism, really. That's the reason why you don't have the kind of distribution that you normally would see. I see you with the dirty.
Yeah, he did talk about this on TED Talks, and I'm probably gonna have him on in the first week of January. Well, this is probably my last question. Do you feel that if black people go more harder on the entrepreneur route to start their own business, will that start to grow a little more of an increase of that, or we're just far too on the whole to even try something different to really change that? Because 1%, you're not gonna survive in that percentage when everybody else has all the wealth. It's not gonna happen. That's my only question.
Well, look, I think black people should start businesses as much as they can. I'm aware of what the Claude Anderson argument versus the Tone Talks argument, or those people in the space on YouTube and in the academy who argue the converse of that, namely that you can't create businesses to get your way out of this. But I mean, in one way that's true, and in another way that's not true. I just don't believe anybody's coming to save us. I don't think people are coming out to help us. But you did see what happened to black people when they did create their own economies. White people came and destroyed them. Yeah. Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greenwood.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw what happened. You know the history. So, I mean, the question is, I think at some point, there was a movement in this country. What do they call it? Occupy Wall Street. And it kind of dissipated, but I think those guys had the right idea. But it's not about creating blanket equality. But damn, does the wealth distribution have to be so stratified? I just don't see the reason why that's the case. I'm not saying you'll ever be able to eliminate inequality. I don't think it's eradicable. But at the same time, I mean, you can have a lot more than somebody else without having 1% of every damn thing. You got more wealth than the bottom 60% of the damn country, like 1% of the population. And the argument is, well, they're driving production and innovation. I'm like, come on, man. Like, look, come on, man. And I think there was a quote here by DH, and I think to some degree he's right there. Like, it's like a lot of times people think the people who are rich are rich because they're virtuous and that they work hard for it. That's a lie, man.
That's a lie.
Yeah, that's
From
a
what
lie,
I'm
man.
reading now, that's a lie. Even some of the scholars that are revealed, even Dr. Sandera revealed that in this book I just got. And there's too much information that debunks that bullshit. To be
Yeah,
honest with
that's
you.
that's a
Sorry.
that's a crock of shit. Look,
Yeah.
who worked harder on the plantation? The fucking plantation owner or the fucking slaves, man?
The slave.
Come on, dog. Hard work is neither a necessary nor a sufficient condition for success, bro. I mean, who worked harder, man? Like the person who owned the CEO. One could argue it's a different kind of work. Some people can work like long hours if you're like in corporate management. And I got another guest, so I gotta chime you
All
out. But
right.
but
I'll
but look, have you ever seen the show Undercover Boss?
you know,
Yeah.
I saw something about that a few years ago. There was one particular boss that he disguised and saw hard working one of his plays, and he just surprised her and gave her a good reward. But it tells you that the CEO are the ones that sit back while the people that doing the work make all the money for them. So
But I mean, but look, I get it. Sweat equity is something. I understand both sides of the coin.
mhm.
The only thing I have a problem with, like on those shows, and I thank you, Martin Sewell, for your support, sir. He says thanks for the good information in the lecture. Love your music too. Thank you, bro. Appreciate it, man. Love you too, bro. Um, Oftentimes the people who own the companies, they have unrealistic expectations about what their workers are supposed to be able to accomplish or achieve on the job. And oftentimes when they're thrust into the same positions as their workers, they can't do the work.
Mm-hmm.
They can't do it themselves. Look, and part of the problem, and this is the problem that Heidegger talks about and that BGS kind of talked about too on one of his streams, was that look, human beings can be productive for stretches of time, but like the idea that human beings are supposed to squeeze every bit of efficiency out of a person is crazy, man. That's not human beings are not cogs in a machine.
It's dehumanization.
It's dehumanization and it's exploitation, and it doesn't match up with our true nature. But I gotta get this other brother, man.
All right,
Thank you,
thank you.
Chaos Rain.
I'll
Enjoy
jump
your
down.
holidays, bro. Happy New Year, bro.
You too. Thank you again.
All right, man. Herb Saint, brother, how you doing, man?
Hey, brother Green Gorilla. Happy Sunday. Happy holidays.
Happy Sunday and happy holidays in the NOLA, bro. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I just wanted to touch on, and you was kind of going that way with the Undercover Boss show.
Yeah.
I seen this article with Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter. He's giving out money to different municipalities. New Orleans got a grant too for 500,000, and it's a guaranteed income. I just wanted you to touch on this altruism that's coming forth from the billionaire class, the 1%. It's almost like it's harkened to the days of like the Romans when they would bless people or they would knight people or just make people lift them out of a poverty. It's
Right.
we're in this almost medieval time, a modern medieval time. It's very
Right.
strange.
Yeah, so I think that what you touched upon is right there. It's like they're demonstrating their virtue for one by doing this. I mean, in their own minds, and then not only that, um, you know, it's gives them tax breaks, man. These people, like they're not fooling anybody, man. Like they set up these charitable organizations and they give these donations in order to get tax breaks. So and then also, I've always made a differentiation between charity and justice. There's a difference between charity and distributive justice, man. And look, again, please understand, I am not arguing in behalf of rough equality. It's not what I'm asking for, right? But I am saying, look, there has to be a limit to the kind of equality that we see. This shit is like the fucking Hunger Games, man.
Absolutely.
This is like the Hunger Games, bro. Where you got people at the lower stratum or lower end of the economic stratum fighting each other over peanuts, man. I mean, like a lot of this enemy and enmity that you see in our culture, man, can be eliminated by making sure that people have enough to persist. But then comes the problem of free riding and laziness. And my viewpoint is, I don't think that human beings are inherently lazy. I just don't. Okay, I think the human beings are motivated, especially if they can find something to put their agency and their energy into, and they get rewarded for it, and other people perceive them as valuable. People love to work. They enjoy it. But the question becomes, why is it so difficult to get people to see, especially these people at the top of the economic stratum? Like, why is it taking them so much to see that they can't take the shit with them when it's all said and done? That you only live one life on the planet. There's no Jumanji where you get reborn. It ain't Mario Brothers. You live one life, man, and you're
You
living
can
it
only
with
wear
other.
one pair of shoes and one pair of jeans
I mean,
at a time.
and so like materialism has become. And see, back in the day, you didn't demonstrate your fitness by means of wealth. You demonstrated your fitness because the people who were wealthy thought, or people who were noble thought that was beneath them. They didn't earn money like exchangers. They thought like the exchange of material goods was exploitative in general. So they didn't like that kind of activity. They thought taking shit was the way to do it, man. Pillaging
Yes.
and plundering. That was, to them, that was noble. Challenging other groups of people militarily for the resources. That's what they thought was, the more noble way to acquire wealth or to acquire resources. But today, man, it's like we're locked into this ideal, and look, this is fucking killing the planet, man. Like efficiency, productivity, and technological advancement. Like, I don't have a problem with science and practicality, but I have a problem with the way we're treating the world like a gas station, man. Like a river is not a gas station, man. Like we'll dam it up and create energy and turbines and shit like that and fuck up the environment for the sake of, keeping like the economy going. Like, but this shit is it's a finite amount of resources. When this shit is depleted, what next? I mean, sustainability is a question, that we're gonna or a condition that we're gonna have to deal with at some point. And right now, we're just kicking the can down the road, not worried about future generations. We're just worried about ourselves. And that's our culture at the current moment. So
Wow.
yeah, so thank you, my brother, man, for coming in.
Thank you.
If there's
Thank you, bro.
anybody
Thank
else who'd like to make a comment or to put forth an ideal, I'm willing to ground your question. But if nobody responds within the next few seconds, I mean, at least the next minute or so, I'm about to break on out of here. Again, man, I want y'all to enjoy your holiday season, man. Be safe, be responsible, um, and hug your loved ones, man, if you can, if you're close to them. I know a lot of you all are alone, but if you're alone, God bless you. If don't nobody else care, Gigi care. So, having said all that, man, I want y'all to be prosperous. I think we could work together to do something better for ourselves collectively. I think even if we fail, if we don't try at all, I think we're goddamn fools. But I see y'all having a conversation about reparations here. I'm a skeptic, and I don't, for the most part, I'm not going to rely on the virtue of people who've demonstrated in relation to us no virtue at all. So I wouldn't expect for them to do right by us. I mean, think about this. Recently, you had Joe Biden going off on certain civil rights leaders, and ultimately he was going off on them because they were trying to talk about issues related to defunding the police and Black Lives Matter, and what can black people get out of the deal. We kind of got you in office. I mean, and then Joe Biden was like, look, we got our ass kicked in the election cycle precisely because of this defund the police talk. All of this Black Lives Matter shit is bad for business. I mean, that's what he said. So you couple that, you kind of couple that with the so-called aspiration for reparations, it's going to be a hard sell. It's because these people. I'm going to read this article, man. Not Monday, because I'm going to do the show on Disney tomorrow. And yeah, come on in, man, and look at that joint. But Tuesday, what I'll do is I'll read this article from these Harvard economists that kind of explains why it's the case that black people haven't been, kind of given a social safety net, or why America doesn't have a social safety net. It's primarily predicated upon race. So there's a brother out here right now who's like, what about the fundraiser for the site, the documentary? So let me share a screen with you really quickly, and I'll put this link there. So I haven't started the campaign as of yet, and I'm just trying to drum up some information about it to let you know. But it starts on 1/1/21. That's when it starts, and then you can donate to the documentary. And again, the documentary is called "The White People of Black People." This is what they calling us. I'll share the screen. So it's on Indiegogo. I left the link in the comment section. You can also look at the community tab on my YouTube channel. It'll direct you towards my website. There's a lot of articles and videos and stuff that I've already done before. I mean, I know you can access it on YouTube, but eventually I want to move more content to this website. And then, I'm going to start putting merchandise and shit like that on it, and articles that you can read and stuff like that on the website. But, look, starting the website, man, that shit is more difficult than I imagined it to be. I thought it was going to be a little bit easier than what it is, but I think I got things running now. I changed hosts a few times because the hosting was slow where I was. I was at HostGator. Don't ever, if you're starting a WordPress website, do not, never ever, regardless of what the weather, fuck with HostGator. Do not do it. So I ended up going with a company called CloudShare, and man, it went from 10 seconds to load my page to like 1.4 seconds. So yeah, if you're gonna fuck with a WordPress website, CloudShare. Or no, excuse me, Cloudways. Sorry about that. Cloudways. That's what you do. But anyway, so the pre-launch for this thing is up by January the 1st. It'll be in full launch mode. And my idea is, man, look, this shit, we should be able to get the money needed. We need 50 G's in order to make this damn documentary. It sounds like a lot of money, but if we can get 10,000 dudes in the manosphere, man, to give $5. $5, man. We can have our shit done. I can start the schedule for shooting. I got the company that's supposed to edit it. This person already has a documentary on Amazon.com. Professional, looking good. And I'll leave at some point I'll leave a tab, not a tab, but a link, so you can go look at some of the work this guy's done before. But we need to make a push to change the social landscape in this country, or that will at least allow our voice to be heard. Because we need to be heard. Things have reached critical mass about us, our reputation in this country. And some things need to change. The conversation has to start somewhere. And this documentary, you think Kevin Samuels and all these other guys, that you think that's a conversation? Wait till they see a documentary. And you got the best and the brightest minds in academia making arguments, and it's, formatted and it's on Amazon and Netflix and shit like that. Then you're going to start to see some shit. And we're going to put this damn thing in some film festival. We're going to have this assessed and judged. So, yeah. And we got a hell of a strong case to make, man, because our reputation, man, has been besmirched in ways that are unimaginable. There's no way a group of people who've been subjected to slavery, Jim Crow, mass incarceration, should now be called the white people or black people. Shit is ridiculous, man. So that's my viewpoint on it, man. I've always said, You know, black men aren't perfect. But nobody in this world is perfect, man. And we suffer from injustices of a whole host of kinds, just like any other demographic in this country. So what y'all need to do is, man, go into your pockets, donate if you can, and promote, share, and make noise about the shit. We got 6 million adult black men in this country. Most black men are not going to be about this movie because they're too simpish, quite frankly. I mean, you know, they're too big conquistadors. It's just not going to be into it. They're going to rush and think it's slanderous or something like that. But we can't move the... This is about disclosure of the second kind that I was talking about earlier. Because our viewpoint hasn't been heard. This right here is, you know, this it's fucked up, slanderous. So, but anyway, I love y'all, man, and I'll catch y'all tomorrow. It's back to business as usual for me, man. I took a few days to, you know, get into my own little holiday spirit or what have you, talk to my children and shit. But now it's time for me to get back to this work mode. So I'll catch y'all on the next one, man. Y'all be peaceful, man, and enjoy your weekend. And for those who are not returning to work immediately, continue to enjoy your holiday, man. Be safe out here. Peace, y'all.
Yeah. I'm a phenomenon, I shine like Orion. I came in a rap gang to smack it up like Heron, transform it like Megatron. Wait, like Yamatron, most rappers are some peons. I'ma starve them like Ramadan, I'm troublesome. You don't really want no troublesome, cause I pop guns like hood chicks do bubble gum. I been dumb, gon' stay that way till kingdom come. When the sun I'm at, unleash a demon, a polygon. I'm heavy, son, got more knowledge than Farrakhan. More gang than Cap, come with that bitch, some name done one. Stay lit off some Shandan, maybe Bacardi rum. Stay drink to some Nordstrom, call me that Dapper Don. More violent than Genghis Khan, the members of Taliban. Niggas faker than silicon, get hit like a .com, like soldiers in Lebanon. I'm bringing that red rum. When I get through with you, son, you gon' think of C-Ram. Run! I carry weight like a heavyweight, bake more cakes than patty cake. Watch the fiend salivate. You a lightweight, bantamweight. Better contemplate if you violate. Make you levitate to the pearly gates. I fascinate when I conversate from the show me state where these niggas left the hate and hot murder rate or the waste. But this flow is just a taste of God's grace, shining this light in the ugly place. In the prophecy, got more wisdom than Socrates' philosophies. You don't really want no parts of me, can't you see? I'm slicker than Mephistopheles, stronger than Hercules, more dangerous than the Damocles. The MCs trying me pretty please. I wet up they white tees, knock them out they wallabies. Now they touch my deliries. For coming up shorter than little C's when I break out the killer bees. I study music like Okasi, hit chicks look like Ashanti. When I'm breaking them off, they yell at odd poppy. You rack rappers is sloppy, you can't stop me with that. We can sorry, copy, malarkey. I'm a monster like Frankenstein, rock harder than Palestine. You slimes, dropping dimes, a snake and serpentine. Can't stand to see me glow like Nas with his big shine. All you haters cold in it, cold sores need calamine. But my hot shit like red bricks hitting your head. Leave the sour taste up in your mouth like lemon heads, like simply red. Wasted some years up in the fans when I touched down. Already red, that gave me head. I got higher vision for higher living. I'm highly driven. I'm acting women like it's some sort of sick religion. Driving an Impala, sitting on it, each 20 inches, and they spinning just like the planets in the solar system.
Black country people, over in Africa, down to America. Black country people, we make all the world go round and around, yes. Black country people, up in Canada, down to Jamaica. Black country people, we make all the world go round and around.